हेलो हेलो,
Yes, sir.
आवाज आ रही है?
Yes,
Yes, sir, Ari.
ठीक, let us start. Today we have to discuss the text of the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And this book is divided into 7 parts. We have to give a very charming start to the first part. You should know one of the characteristics of ballad poetry is that the central character of the poem appears in the first line of the poem, or in other words, you may say in the first line of the first stanza. This is one of the features, special features of ballad writing. I have told you that this poem is written in the form of ballad, and ballad is a long narrative poem which narrates the story of love and war. It tells the tale of love and war, and it is a folk song. It is a folk song, long story, long tale, which narrates the story regarding the love and war. So, ballad is a long song or long poem that is narrating the story of love and war, that often narrates the story regarding love and war. And the central character of the story is found in the first line of the poem, or in the first line of the first stanza. So let us begin. It is an ancient mariner. It is an ancient mariner. The ancient mariner is the hero of this poem, is the central character of the poem, around whom the whole story revolves. So, Coleridge begins this poem with the appearance of the central character. He tells, it is an ancient mariner, and he stoppeth, one of 3. I have told you that there were 3 wedding guests, or simply you may say there were 3 guests who are going to participate in a marriage ceremony, in a reception party. They were going to that very function, they were going to attend that very function. On the way, the ancient mariner meets the three guests or the three wedding guests come across the ancient mariner, and one of the ancient mariner is asked, one of the guests is asked by the ancient mariner to stop. He stoppeth one of three. The ancient mariner asks the wedding guest to stop. By thy long grey beard and glittering eyes. This is the description of the face of the ancient mariner. The ancient mariner has a beard, its color is grey and it is long. In one word, in one sentence you may say that the ancient mariner has a long grey beard and glittering eyes. His eyes were glittering, glittering means shining. Now wherefore stoppest thou me? When the ancient mariner is stopped by the ancient mariner, then the wedding guest who has been stopped by the ancient mariner puts a question before the ancient mariner. He raises a question. He asks the ancient mariner, why have you stopped me? Why you have asked me to stop? What is the reason? The bridegroom doors are opened wide. He tells that I am going to participate in a reception party. We are going to take part in the reception party. We are going to attend a wedding ceremony, and the bride's groom's door are opened wide, and I am next of kin. You must see. The wedding guest tells that I am going to participate in a wedding ceremony, and you must see the place where the wedding ceremony has been organized. You should know that is the place of the bridegroom, and the door of his house are opened, and I am his next relative. The guests are met and the feast is set. The guests have already arrived there. The guests have already reached there, and the feast is ready. The guests are met and the feast is set. Means the guests have, there's a big gathering there, and so many persons are present there, and for them the feast is ready, the food is ready, the table has been arranged or the table has been set, and the food materials have been arranged. Must hear the merry din. Are you not listening to the noise created by the musical instrument? Do you hear the voice of merry making. People are making a noise. There is a big crowd. People are coming. People are going. And the stage has been created. And all the invited guests have reached there. They are meeting with each other. They are enjoying a lot. They are making merry. So, do you not hear the din? Din means noise. Merry making noise. He holds him with his skinny hand. The ancient mariner catches the hand of the wedding guest into his own hand. Means the hand of the wedding guest has been caught by the ancient mariner, and he started narrating the story. There was a ship, quoth he. The ancient mariner tells, there was a ship. Hold off, unhand me, grey beard loon. The wedding guest tells the ancient mariner, hold off, unhand me. He removes the hand of the ancient mariner from his own hand. Unhand me, leave my hand, grey beard loon. The ancient mariner, who has grey beard, is asked by the ancient mariner to leave his hand. Eftsoons, his hand dropped he. He dropped the hand of the ancient mariner below. He holds him with his glittering eyes. The eyes of the ancient mariner look glittering, look shining. There is a glittering in his eyes, and through his glittering eyes have spellbound the ancient mariner. He holds him with his glittering eyes. The ancient mariner looks the wedding guest with his glittering eyes. Very important for explanation. ये explanation के लिए important है, इसको आप underline कर लीजिए. The wedding guest stood still. I have told you that the glittering eyes of the ancient mariner are so powerful that the wedding guest stands still, though he has willing to leave that place. He has desire of leaving that very place, but he was so much hypnotized with the eyes of the ancient mariner, rather you may say, glittering eyes of the ancient mariner, that he stops his walking and he stands still there and listens like a 3 years child. The ancient mariner hath his will. The ancient mariner looks at the wedding guest. The wedding guest is hypnotized, is under the spell of the ancient mariner, and he becomes motionless and starts listening to the story narrated by the ancient mariner, and he listens to the story narrated by the ancient mariner as a 3-year-old child listens to the story coming out through the mouth of his grandfather and grandmother. Means he begins to listen to the story of the ancient mariner as a child listens to the story from his grandmother or grandfather. The wedding guest sat on a stone. The wedding guest was so much attracted towards the ancient mariner to listen to the story, or the story was so interesting that the wedding guest was hypnotized, and he sat on a piece of a stone and started listening to the story of the ancient mariner. He sits on a piece of a stone, hearing the story of the ancient mariner. He can't choose but hear. He goes on hearing and hearing the story of the ancient mariner, and thus spake on the ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner. I have told you that the ancient mariner, who has glittering eyes, whose eyes are bright, who has bright-eyed, and he sits on a piece of a stone, listening carefully to the story narrated by the ancient mariner. And he narrates the story. He tells, the ship was cheered and the harbour cleared. The merrily did we drop below the kirk, below the hill, below the lighthouse top. The poet tells that the ship of the ancient, now the ancient mariner is telling his stories to the ancient mariner. He tells, my ship started from its harbour, from the port, and merrily did we drop below the kirk and below the hill, below the lighthouse top. If you go to the place where there is the port, you will find a big pillar standing there, and on that very pillar you will find a lamp lightning or light or a bulb or a vapor, which indicates that this place is a port. So the poet here describes how his ship left the harbour, and the harbour was clear. There was nothing there. And they started, there was a big gathering of people there, and all of them saw the ship off, sent the sea off, and the soon the ship soon left the port, and one by one, firstly, the ship left the kirk, then the hill, then the lighthouse top. One by one, the ship started leaving all these objects, or one by one, all these objects vanished from the eyes of the ancient mariner. The sun came up upon the left. It was the morning, and the sun was rising. And you know the sun rises in the east. So the sun rising is taking place on the left side. It means the ship is going southward, or the ship is going towards south. So the sun came up upon the left. Out of the sea came he. The sun has been personified here. The figure of a speech, that is personification, has been used by S.T. Coleridge here. Personification means when an object, inanimate object, is treated as a human being, that is called personification. For example, the flower is laughing, the sky is weeping. So what is this? These are called personification, the example of personification. So the ship was going southward, and the sun was rising, and the sun came out of the sea, and he shone bright. He has come for the sun. The sun shone bright, and on the right went down into the sea. For the whole day, the ship went on going, kept on going and going towards south, and ultimately the evening came, and the sun went down into the sea on the right side. Left side it rose, and left side it went down into the sea. The sun set in the west. Higher and higher every day, higher and higher every day. In this way, every day the sun rises and goes higher and higher till over the mast at noon. With morning, the journey was started by the ancient mariner, and at noon the sun came over the mast of the ship. The wedding guest here beat his breast, for he heard the loud bassoon. The poet tells that the wedding guest here started beating his breast. He tells that I am getting late. I have to reach the place where the wedding guest has been organized, and I have been invited by the person who has organized the wedding ceremony. So leave me. Do you hear the loud bassoon? Bassoon means a kind of musical instrument. Musical instruments are being played there by the musicians, and they are creating the musical tone, and the ancient, the wedding guest asks the ancient mariner, are you not listening to the musical tone of the loud bassoon? He also points out the bride hath passed into the hall. He tells, you have held me, and I am listening to your story. I went on listening to your story, and that's why I have got late. You should know that everything is ready for the guests, and an important news I would like to supply you. I would like to give you that the bride hath passed into the hall. Hath means has. In Old English, in place of S, th was used. So the bride hath passed into the hall. It means the bride has already reached the hall where the dancing program is going on, where the musical instruments are being played by the musicians, and red as a rose is she. He tells that you must know one thing in a clear-cut way, that I am getting late, and you should know one thing, that the bride has already reached the hall, and she looks as a rose looks, or she is as beautiful as the rose is. She is as pretty as the rose is. Here, the poet has compared the wedding, the bride to the rose. Nodding their heads before her goes the merry minstrelsy. He tells that nodding their heads before her goes the merry minstrelsy. He tells that the people are going, nodding their heads before her goes the merry minstrelsy. There are minstrelsy means musicians, They have bowed down their heads, nodding means bowing down, before her, in the presence of the bride. They are they are making merry, and they have nodded down their heads, and they are playing their instrument. The wedding guest, he beat his breast. The wedding guest starts beating his breast, expressing his emotions and feelings, that you have stopped me here and I am late, I am getting delayed, I have delayed, people must be waiting for me. So, feeling restless, she beats the wedding guest, beats his breast. Yet he cannot choose but here. But he tells that just for a few minutes I will finish this story, so just listen to me. And then he stops and goes on hearing the story of the ancient mariner, and thus in this way spake on that ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner. And in this way, the ancient mariner means the old man who has bright eyes, glittering eyes, so he is called bright-eyed mariner, goes on speaking and speaking to the ancient mariner, or keep on narrating his story. He went on narrating his story, and now the storm blast came. While he is narrating the story, the ancient mariner tells, the storm blast came. The tempest broke out into the sea. Means the storm came into the sea. A storm came means the wind started blowing forcibly, and he was tyrannous and strong. And the wind has been also personified. He was tyrannous and strong, means the blowing wind was violent and very strong. He struck with his overtaking wings and chased the south along. The wild wind started blowing, and it was a violent wind, it was a strong wind, and it took my ship towards south, and as a monster took someone from one place to another place, so it is just like a winged monster. This wild wind has been compared to a winged monster which chased us south long. It took us to the south part of the globe with sloping mast and dipping prow. Sloping mast. When the storm comes into the sea, the ship started shaking. Sometimes it happens that the ship capsizes into the sea and it sinks into the sea water. But here the poet is just telling us that with sloping mast, mast means the top of the ship that has sloped down, dipping prow means the forepart, the front part of the ship, as who pursued with L and blow. The ancient mariner also chased us with blow, crying like a human being. When the storm comes, the roaring of the wind is created, or we hear the voice created by the blow of the wind, sir, sir, her in this way. So how the wind is blowing and why the wind is blowing? It is creating the din, it is creating the noise. Still treads the shadow of his foe and forward bends his head. The head of my ship has bended down and it is happening because of the heavy blow, wild blowing of the wind. The ship drove fast, loud roared the blast. The ship is going southward very fast. Loud roared the blast, and roaring voice has been created loudly. The loud roared the blast, the roaring of the voice has been, loud roaring of the voice has been created by the blast of the storm in the sea. The ship drove fast, loud roared the blast. Here, beautiful rhyming. And southward, we fled. The storm has come into the ship, into the sea, and my ship has been taken to the southward, and in this way we reached southward. And now there came both mist and snow. He tells that when I was making my journey in the sea, suddenly the storm breaks into the sea, breaks out into the sea. The storm comes into the sea, and my ship has been driven to the south pole, south part of the equator. We have crossed the equator, and my ship, or we reached the south pole along with my ship. And now there came both mist and snow. In this region, there is nothing but mist and snow. There is nothing but ice and ice. There is nothing but mist and mist. and it grew wondrous cold. This region was very cold. Wonderful cold was seen in that very area, because I have told you that the ship has been taken to the South Pole, and the polar region always remains cold. In that very area, there is nothing but ice and ice found there. So similar is the case here. The storm has taken the ship to the South Pole, and in that very area there is nothing but mist, fog, ice, snow, and heavy cold, as we are suffering these days, especially yesterday and today, we are suffering from the heavy cold. And ice, mast high, came floating by. There was big piece of ice. It is as high as the mast of the ship, and they are floating upon the sea water. You must know, if you drop a piece of snow upon the surface of the water, the piece of the ice or piece of the snow does not sink into the water, rather it starts floating. It starts floating because the density of the ice is less than water. So it doesn't sink, rather it starts floating. As green as emerald, the ice which is as high as the mast and which is floating on the surface of the sea water, and it looks green. Rather you may say it looks as green as emerald. Emerald, it is a bright green stone. Bright green stone. Its color, emerald is a stone, costly stone, that is called in Hindi panna. Hira panna, you know. So emerald color is, the color of emerald is green. So the piece of the ice floating on the surface of the sea water looks as green as the emerald looks, and through the drifts the snow cliffs did send a dismal sheen. And the poet tells that they nor shape, and in that very area there are no human beings. There was nothing but nor shapes of men, nor beasts we can. The ice was all between. Ice was here, ice was there, the ice was all around. Very beautiful description here, natural description you may say. Nor shapes of men, nor beasts we can. Means in that very region there are no human beings, there are no beasts, there are no birds, no creatures, you may say. What was there? The ice was all between. Everywhere there was nothing but ice and ice. The ice was here, the ice was there. Wherever I used to see, that place was filled with snow, ice. That place was covered, fully covered with ice. Ice was here, ice was there. The ice was all around. There was nothing but ice and ice all around my ship. So my ship became motionless. It cannot move from one place to another place. You may say that is the area of ice, that is the area of snow, that is the area of fog, that is the area of mist. So I have told you, simply you should know that the ancient mariner tells that I have reached the area of ice, snow, mist and fog. Wherever I pay my attention, I glance at anything, I found nothing but only ice and ice and ice all around me. यहीं रहने दो आज. हेलो.
Yes, sir.
हेलो. यहीं रहने
Yes,
दो
sir.
आज.
Okay, sir.
ठीक है.